All right, you are listening to the Dork Age Podcast, episode 14.
14. Oh boy, it's a doozy today.
Oh yes, we have.
I feel like that's an understatement.
We have a lot to discuss, actually. First off, the NES Classic. Did we get our hands on one?
Did we?
I guess you'll have to wait and see. Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets trailer.
New film.
By Mr. Luc Besson. Also, last week in Dirk Gently, what the hell is going on? And Mr. Plinkett confirmed. Last week in South Park, and then we're going to talk about the events that unfolded last week in America Held Hostage. No, I'm kidding. We're not going to call it that. Rush Limbaugh already. He used that.
He done
used that already. But first off, let's talk about the NES Classic Edition. It was released on Friday, November 11th, and apparently there's been some problems in people getting a hold of the NES Classic. So, Thursday evening, after work, I stopped by my local GameStop and asked the gentleman working on the counter, I said, so you're going to have the NES Classic Edition tomorrow? And he said, we will have them in limited quantities, and it's first come, first served. So I had heard online that most GameStops would be getting about 5 of them.
5?
Yes. I asked
Seems like a little low for even a limited quantity item.
Right. Well, I asked him, I said, how many are you going to have? And he said, I can't tell you. And I said, well, let me ask you this. If I was the 6th person in line, would I get one? And he said, probably not. Mm-hmm. And he also told me, he's like, if you want to camp out tomorrow, I'm coming at 9 and you can just have my spot. So the guy at GameStop told me that he was going to be waiting in line at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
They opened at 10 to get his. Well, if you remember our Doctor Strange review, I revealed something about myself, and that is that I am very much a morning person.
You are.
So I got there at 8 o'clock. Mm-hmm. There was one other person there. 23-year-old kid. He took the day off work to go wait in line for the NES Classic Edition. And then I was there, 35-year-old man. A couple people pulled up and looked to see when GameStop opened and then left.
Right.
But then shortly, probably around 8:30, 8:45, another gentleman shows up. He's in his 30s. And then about 15 minutes later, another person shows up. And then about every 15 to 20 minutes, people started showing up until the time that GameStop opened. And I would say there was a good 9 to 10 of us in line.
Yeah.
One of the kids in line, turns out he actually worked there, and he was just waiting for the store to open so he could get to work. So the manager of GameStop, she pulls up, finally shows up. She goes in, and she's like, we're all looking. We're all looking through the window and what's going on? Well, I see her with some of the NES Classic Edition boxes, and I'm peeking in. And, of course, I've got a hoodie on. I've got the hood up because it's a little cold.
Yeah.
And, I've got transition lenses, so it looks like I'm wearing sunglasses. And so I'm all
and you've got a beard, so you kind of looked like the Unabomber.
Yeah. So she actually opens the door about 15 minutes before they're supposed to open. She's like, I'm not trying to sound weird or anything, but you guys are kind of freaking me out, staring at me. And I was like, uh-oh. So still no word from her on how many classic editions that they have. So then, 5 minutes before the store opens, she comes out and she's like, okay, guys, I've got some bad news. And we're just like, what the fuck? She goes, we've only got 2. And I was
down from the projected 5, which already seemed fairly low number.
Yes. So I immediately said, well, this kid was here first and I was here second. And she's like, okay, well, you two are the ones that are going to get one.
So we got it.
We got one. Oh my God. So, yeah, so I went in and I paid for it, and then, after they open and I'm waiting in line to pay, more people show up and start asking, and they see me buying one, they see the kid in front of me buying one, and, some lady was asking while I was checking out, she's like, do you guys have any more of those? And she's like, no, and she's like, oh, my kid wanted one, and all this stuff. I start to feel bad, but then I'm like, well, fuck that. I was here since
You were here for 2 freaking hours.
Excuse me. So, yeah, I got one, I took it home and opened it and plugged it in and played it a lot. And it's okay. So I have a modded PS2 and I can play every single Nintendo game on my PS2 with the PlayStation 2 controller. And I've done it quite a bit, and the picture's all right. I've got composite cables, and it works with the NES emulator. I do have an HD upscaler, which doesn't work with it. It's not like a super expensive FrameMeister. It's one of those $40 on eBay deals. So anyway, I plug it in and I start playing, and I always go, anytime I load up an emulator, the first thing I do is play Super Mario Brothers. And just the wave of nostalgia hit me way harder than it has with playing emulators on the PS2 because I'm holding a Nintendo controller.
Exactly.
Which, by the way, seems a hell of a lot smaller in my hands now that I'm 35 as opposed to when I was like 7, whenever I had one. And it's just a hell of a lot of fun. There's 30 games on the system. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but it's got all the Mario games, including the Mario Brothers, the original. It's got Donkey Kong Jr., Zelda 1 and 2, Castlevania 1 and 2, Double Dragon 2, Super C, Bubble Bobble, Dr. Mario, and Final Fantasy. Which I'm already like 4 hours in. In the NES version of Final Fantasy. And I've never played the NES version from start to finish. I have played the Android port of Final Fantasy from start to finish, but never the NES version. Which, that game is just so brutally hard compared to the newer ones. Because, I mean, I've just been playing World of Final Fantasy, and now I'm playing the original again, and can tell it's a lot more unforgiving. And I'm just grinding so hard. I'm trying to get all my armor and spells and everything before I move to the next stage, because I'm only going between the first and second town.
And you're still 4 hours.
4 hours of that shit. But no, it's great. And the nostalgia just comes back so easily because I'm pulling moves like today. I was playing Mario Brothers, and I beat it almost on one life. And I'm pulling moves with the NES controller that I haven't pulled since I was a kid. Because it's just not the same when you're playing it with a different controller. And that's one of the reasons, and I remember you had said something, we were in a video game store one time, and I was asking them about the NES Classic, and you're like, you've already got all those, you can already play them. I was like, no, it's not going to be the same. This is Nintendo. This is their emulation. This is their controllers. This is, all that stuff. So that's why I was so excited about the NES Classic Edition. Plus, it just looks like a tiny little Nintendo.
It does. It's so adorable.
I'm cautiously optimistic about the future of this little mini console because there's already an NES Classic Mods subreddit, and once somebody cracks it and figures out how to flash more games on it, it's on. People are saying that it can't be done, but some people are saying it can. I do know that if you plug it into a computer, it is recognized and has a device name, so that would lead someone to believe that it's more than just power in that USB, that it also has a data port on it as well. So it's going to be interesting to see if anything could come out of that. Now, if I could download the entire NES library and play it on the NES Classic, oh boy, that'd be a lot of fun. But real quick, you can save your games. You can have up to 4 saved games per game. And it has 3 different display modes. I showed them to you when you got here. It's got the Pixel Perfect, and then it's got a 4x3, which is kind of a wider version, but it's not widescreen, so you don't have any of that stretching of the sprites.
Right. If we're talking aspect ratio, it is the 4:3 is like the old school tube TV size, as opposed to the 16:9, which would be like an HD TV.
Right. And if you've ever played an emulator on a 16:9, it is a little weird, everything being all stretched out. But they also have the CRT filter, which gives
looks
it,
really cool.
Yeah, it gives it all the scan lines, and everything's just a little blurry, which at first I was like, I'm probably not going to play it in that. But then after playing it in the Pixel Perfect mode for so long, you notice details that you never really noticed when you were playing it on an old school CRT TV, down to the pixel. And it kind of takes a little bit away from it, like that nostalgia. Because when you had that old school TV, it didn't, have that like blurriness and stuff like that. So, it is what it is. But what's crazy is that all these scalpers online are putting out the NES Classic Edition on
eBay,
Craigslist, and
stuff
Craigslist,
like that.
And they're selling them for outrageous prices. The most outrageous I've seen is like $5,000.
Yeah, some guy trying to get multiple thousands of dollars out of it. That seems insane to me.
Yeah,
like, nobody's going to pay for that.
First of all, it's dumb to put it on there for that much, and it's even dumber if you buy it for that much.
Yeah.
Nintendo already tweeted that they were going to be coming out with they're going to be coming out with more stock throughout the holiday season and well into 2017. Yeah. I don't think this is going anywhere, and honestly, since it sold out on day one, that leaves me very optimistic for the future of things like this. Are we going to see an NES Classic Edition 2 with a wider array of games? There's already some third-party accessories that have been released, like little carrying cases, and you can already buy, well, they didn't have any at GameStop, but you can buy extra controllers for it.
Well, see, that was my first question, because they have a lot of two-player games, and so my first question was, did it have two controllers, or was it just one?
It just came with one, and the cord is criminally small, but you can already buy extension cords for it,
of course,
and you can use the Wii Pro controllers with it as well, which is good. But what was I going to say? I want to see like either an NES Classic Edition 2 with maybe an extra 30 games, from the library, or what I think would work even better, and which I would be really hyped to see, would be a Super Nintendo Classic Edition. And then on top of that, like a Nintendo 64 and a GameCube. Because with flash memory, dude, you can put 30 games.
Yeah.
You could put 30 GameCube games easy. 30 Nin 64 games.
All right,
easy.
And this is the thing for me. The next thing that I would want to see, because I owned a Nintendo, a classic gray box Nintendo, but I didn't have very many games. I think I borrowed some or rented some. That was most of my stuff. But I never owned a Super Nintendo.
Right, me neither.
I would kill to have a Super Nintendo Classic with just like...
well, you would need games like Super Mario World, of course, Super Metroid,
Final Fantasy 3.
Final Fantasy 2 and 3.
/4/6.
Right. You would want Final Fantasy 2 and 3. Also, Chrono Trigger would be a good one. Here's the deal, though. You could put out a different version of these with different types of game. You could have like a SNES platformer edition, SNES RPG edition with like Chrono Trigger, Super Mario RPG, Earthbound, things like that. Games that people want to play on that console with that controller.
The thing is, I would also still, though, want to play like Super Mario World, and like I would still want to be able to play all of those classic RPGs, but I also want to play the super version of Mario Kart. I would still want to play Super Mario World and all of those games as well. Like, I wouldn't want it to be limited to just genres. I wouldn't want to have to buy the racing version of the Super Nintendo Classic in order to be able to play Mario Kart.
Well, time's going to tell what's going to happen, but I think with the success of this, that you're going to see more of this. Yeah. An interesting side note before we move on is Brazil has now started production on Genesis Mega Drives, or Sega Mega Drives. It's called the Mega Drive overseas. It was the Genesis here in the United States. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But I think what the most fun part, because that 2 hours that I waited in line really went by fast, and I'll tell you why. Because me and the guys in line, with the exception of that first kid, we're all in our 30s, and we all just started sharing stories of when we first got our Nintendos. I remember I was like, I talked about the first time I beat Mario 3, and I had a fever and ended up in the hospital later that night, and ended up being out of school for 2 weeks because I had strep throat. And just, I had a $4 a week allowance and put my Nintendo on layaway, and for like over a year, paid for it. Yeah. And so that was really fun. That was good to be able to reminisce with people my age and talk about like growing up with those things. And I think that's going to be the biggest selling point on the NES Classic Edition, is just the nostalgia factor alone.
Oh yeah. So do you think that 23-year-old kid, did he immediately put his on eBay?
I would hope not. He did seem like a genuine gamer type kid, and I would hope he wouldn't.
Okay.
I mean, and
because he's like, he
doesn't
was
super
seem...
neckbeardy. Like he had a black trench coat on, scraggly ass neck beard, and just like super neckbeardy.
Oh, okay.
So I think he was
have
genuine
that was legit.
in his want for the NES Classic.
Okay.
Not that there's anything wrong with being a neckbeard.
Of course not.
It can be socially awkward. All right, so that's pretty much all I've got to say about the NES Classic.
I mean, no other grumps, groans about system specs.
The cord is too
anything
short,
like that?
but that's system specs. It's an 8-bit console.
Yeah,
everything
exactly.
runs, and everything's like glitchy, just like the Nintendo. But system specs is no big deal. Just the cord being 2.5 feet long is really the only gripe I've heard from anybody about the NES Classic, let alone as far as like performance and everything. It works just like a Nintendo. It did come with an HDMI cable and a kick-ass poster, which was unexpected. So there you go. Let's talk about a new trailer that dropped. It's called Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets, directed by Luc Besson, who directed one of my favorite movies, The Fifth Element. And this, honestly, after seeing the trailer, looks like something that could be in the same universe of The Fifth Element. So it's got me really excited. Now, you watched it for the first time before we started the podcast. What are your initial thoughts on that?
It's super colorful, which I appreciate, because so many futuristic movies are
bleak.
Yeah, bleak, gothic, disturbingly dark, it unnecessarily so. Because it kind of reminds me a little bit of Blade Runner.
Right.
Blade Runner was dark. It had a lot of gothic feel to it, but it was also super colorful.
Right.
Throughout almost the entirety, until you get to the end when Roy Batty is chasing Deckard around in the rain. Up to that point, it's super colorful all the time. So why shouldn't all futuristic movies be super colorful? The world itself is super colorful already.
Right. Well, I think that there's going to be a place for all those kind of movies, the super colorful futuristic movies, as well as the bleak, more dystopian style.
Yeah.
And people are going to like both of those different things. So it's, to me, the trailer looks like a mix between Avatar, The Fifth Element, and I was just thinking about it. Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah,
which was a dumb movie.
It was terrible.
And that's what I hope.
Freaking terrible.
That's what I hope, is that this movie's way more Fifth Element and way less Jupiter Ascending.
Well, and way less Lucy too, because apparently Luc Besson, which I believe Besson, because he's French.
I'm American, goddamn.
It's Luc.
Trump's president. I can pronounce French names however
and we'll
I
talk
want.
about that later. But Luc Besson also directed Lucy, that Scarlett Johansson movie about the girl who unlocks 100% of her brain's potential.
Yeah, I never saw it.
Turns into a computer and ends the world or something.
It's
terrible. It's terrible because it operates off of so many just inherently false assumptions that the layperson has about science in general. Like the human brain only uses 10% of its ability.
Capacity or whatever.
That has long been disproven. That's not a thing, but whatever. That's the basis of the entire movie, though. So, yeah, Lucy was bad. It was pretty, but it was bad.
Maybe I'll give it a shot. Maybe I'll check it out.
It's on HBO, I think.
I don't have HBO, but I have the internet, right. And that's where I can find everything. So Valerian, Fifth Element was
on the Valerian is apparently based on a graphic novel.
Right. Apparently, I've never heard of the graphic novel.
I hadn't either.
Apparently, it's groundbreaking. But it looks great, and I'm gonna go see it just for that Fifth Element nostalgia factor.
Yeah.
I remember when I first saw the Fifth Element, it felt like it just came out of nowhere. Like, where the hell did this movie come from, and why is it so awesome? You got Gary Oldman in it, you've got Bruce Willis in it, you've got Mila Jovovich in it, you got fucking Chris Tucker.
Chris Tucker
is in it, yeah. And it's a comedy and a sci-fi movie at the same time, because there's definitely some very comedic scenes, and it doesn't really take itself too seriously. I mean, they had freaking the dude from Friday as the president. Debo. Debo was the president in the Fifth Element.
Was the president.
Yeah, you got knocked the fuck out. But and Chris Tucker. So that's a great movie, and that's going to be the main reason. If I hadn't seen the Fifth Element and hadn't been as big of a fan of the Fifth Element, when I saw this trailer, I would have been like, Kind of looks like that Jupiter Ascending shit movie.
It looks like it could be, the new cheesy, beautiful sci-fi
I hope so. And I hope we get some Fifth Element Easter eggs in this movie. I would love it if, maybe we see
the
Corbin
Stones.
Dallas.
The Stones are just in the background.
Stones.
Somebody's got a multi-pass.
Yeah. Luke Perry was in that fucking movie.
Yeah, he was. I mean, for all of about 5 minutes, but...
It's such a good movie.
Yeah, it is.
And just, it looks great. And Valerian looks great, and I'm going to go see it.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Stay tuned.
We'll just add that to our ever-growing list of movies that we are going to see and review on this very podcast, so stay tuned.
So let's go ahead and move on. Last week in Dirk Gently, the episode's called Watkins, we finally get a name for the Mr. Plinkett, which, by the way... Confirmed by Max Landis.
Kind of.
I'm gonna say it was confirmed. Red Letter Media. If you remember on last week's episode of our Dirk Gently review, I said there's a character on there that really I think is based off Mr. Plinkett. Well, in the Red Letter Media subreddit, someone posted the same theory.
Yeah.
And Max Landis himself
responded to it.
And he said everything is connected. And I guarantee you, he did it intentionally.
Yes.
He intentionally based that character after Mr. Plinkett.
It definitely seems far more likely now.
Right.
If he's accepting that is a thing.
Yeah. So what's the rundown on Dirk Gently in this episode? So you see the fur coat first off on the Mr. Plinkett character. His name is Gordon. They talked to him and called him Gordon.
They gave him a name.
That's the same coat that Todd is wearing in the first episode when he's in the bellboy outfit and sees himself. It's the same fucking coat. I guarantee you. And you know what? I brought it up in the last episode.
You did.
And it's coming back around.
Of course, because again, everything is connected.
So Dirk and Todd find this underground electricity generator type thing.
Yeah. Springtown.
Okay. Right.
Springsboro.
And they find a map that's on all these different monitors.
Yeah. Hang on, we gotta step back a bit because there's death traps.
Yes,
there's all kinds of death traps.
Yeah, the walls moving in with the light bulbs, and one of the light bulbs that they have is actually a doorknob, and they make it out, and
the rhino thing. You gotta connect the rhino's horn.
I don't recall that, but I was doing like a million different things at once while I was watching it. So, and I gotta stop doing that. I've got to
because you have to pay attention to that show, or you're gonna miss stuff.
Well, the Rowdy Three is back.
Yeah.
Okay, and they sucked some essence out of Dirk, just like they did with Todd's sister in the last episode. But I'm kind of thinking they might be good guys.
Because they keep showing up and helping.
Yeah.
Aside from screwing Todd's apartment up, everything else they've done.
But it may come around in a few later episode that them screwing Todd's apartment up was a good thing.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I mean, it let the fake FBI agent in this episode.
And speaking of FBI agents, that guy's a fucking robot or something. The way he talked to the cops, and then he doesn't show an ounce of emotion until he's yelling at Farrah in the hallway. But he doesn't know, he can't be a real FBI agent.
He's not.
Because he's breaking protocol, and Farrah disarmed him so easily.
Did you miss that in the previous episode? Or
maybe
no, because that was even in this episode, I thought. They replaced his brain with one of the tall, bald guys. That happened in this episode.
Oh, shit. Yeah, you're right, at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You need to stop missing stuff, man.
Well, I was making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and watching it at the same time.
Yeah.
And trying to put together this Fallout puzzle, and
Okay, fair enough.
I got a lot of stuff to do.
But yeah, one of the bald guys had his brain put into the FBI agent's brain, whereas the FBI agent was put into a little white mouse, and then that mouse was eaten by Spring's daughter Lydia.
Right, yeah. Well, that's just this show just gets weirder and weirder, and
yes, it does.
And for every question that's answered, we get more questions. So
at least 3 more.
Towards the end, Gordon is talking to this girl about the Lux du Jour guy,
Lux's ex-girlfriend.
All of a sudden, his voice changes.
It did.
He's not Mr. Plinkett anymore.
Yeah.
He's now just a regular dude, and then he kills her with a fucking guitar. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. A little bit. But I feel like anybody that's actually watching this is also keeping up with the show, because why would you watch it otherwise?
Right. So it's... I'm just... it's looking forward. Every Sunday morning, I get up and I'm like, oh shit, I get to watch Dirk Gently today.
Yep.
And see what kind of craziness. Now, I am a little disappointed that we didn't get to see the assassin today.
Yeah.
But they showed her in the
teased,
preview.
Yeah, they teased
for the next
she'll
episode.
be coming up in the next episode. I'm hoping that they confirm my theory.
What's your theory?
Before too long. Remember that Patrick Spring is in the kitten's body?
Oh, okay. Well, who's in the corgi's body then?
Lydia, remember?
His wife?
No, Lydia.
The daughter. His daughter. Yeah.
We already knew that.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Shall we move on?
I mean, we can. There's a whole bunch of stuff that happened in this
then
episode.
Go on.
But
you're more fresh in it than I was, and apparently you were paying more attention than I was.
Well, really, I do think that we covered most of the major stuff because there was a little bit of interaction, like the FBI guy the fake FBI guy when he was talking to Farah, like kind of took on a completely different persona because up to that point he's bumbling. He doesn't actually know anything.
Stiff and rigid.
Until he starts talking to Farah again, and then he gets real personal.
Yeah.
He hits all the right buttons.
He knows everything about her.
He knows exactly what to say to her to throw her completely off.
Right.
I want to know what's going on there. Are they like somewhat telepathic? Can they read people's shortcomings?
Or are they that good at doing their homework on people?
Possibly. I'm interested to know because again, you mentioned Gordon, Mr. Plinkett, him stepping out of character.
Yeah.
During that last scene, before he bludgeons Lux's ex-girlfriend to death with a guitar.
He could have at least hit that one more time. I mean, come on. But whatever.
Whatever.
He's wearing the coat though.
He's wearing the coat. That line was great. What was the last thing that I said to you on the yacht? If I die, you die, or if you die, I die.
Right.
What happened to you, Lux? I died.
And then he kills the shit out of her. And she's dead.
Yeah. So the Rowdy Three come back a little bit. They help Dirk and Todd get out of the maze, the death maze.
Right.
They then suck a little bit more of Dirk's energy or something and then fuck off again. And meanwhile, Amanda and Farah are talking a little bit, and by the end of the episode, oh, it's a shame what happened to your coat.
Right, the jacket.
Yeah, because Amanda told him to wear his cool jacket.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe we'll
potential?
See potential romance, but, you never know. In a show like this, she might die in the next episode. Who knows?
Yeah.
So
we do have the assassin coming back in the next episode.
So we still have questions.
We will always have questions.
We always have questions. I want to see, after the show is said, after everything's said and done with the show, and its run is over, how many fan theories are still going to be out there? That's going to be the interesting thing.
Is there a Dirk Gently subreddit yet?
Yes.
Yeah, I kind of figured there would be.
Of course, there's a subreddit for everything. Dude.
Yeah, no, I know.
But anyway, so ready to move on?
Yeah.
This week in South Park, OGs is the name of the episode, which apparently they had to rewrite a large portion of it because even they didn't believe what was going to happen.
Nobody saw it coming.
Well, Michael Moore did.
Yeah,
Michael Moore saw it coming. So Mr. Garrison won the presidency, and people are flipping out.
Yep.
Gentleman killed himself. Yeah, shot himself in the watch party, and Randy goes to Mr. Garrison's house, and Caitlyn Jenner's there, and he's like, "What the fuck?" And she pukes member berries into his mouth.
I liked the new Star Wars.
I liked the new Star Wars too, but whatever.
But that doesn't mean we're gonna vote for Donald Trump,
right? And Cartman's still a little scared about the troll trace thing, but it looks like he might not have much to worry about because it sounds like Hillary Clinton
sold out the trolls.
Turd Sandwich sold out all the trolls.
Turd Sandwich sold out all the trolls directly to Denmark.
Sent them to Troll Trace to infiltrate and
like James
collect.
Bond.
Yes, exactly like James Bond. Dun-dun. And so they're taking pictures and stuff, and then he sees dildo schwagons, and then he sees all the rest of the trolls, and he's like, "Oh shit!"
Hey, Skag.
and then they get rickrolled.
They get rickrolled. I did love that.
Which is great.
Oh, shoot. Look, it's almost 9:30. The briefcases are about to go off. They all open.
It's supposed to be an EMP.
Never gonna give you up.
How crazy would that be if, like, we're watching, like, CNN, and they're like, and here's the results of the presidential election, and then it's like, just... Yeah. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case.
That was not the case.
We'll get into that a little bit.
A little bit later.
So, Butters starting to be really mean, especially to Eric Cartman, who tried to get him to reply to an email that he had sent him, and Butters like, get the fuck out of my house. You know, you're not who you used to be. And I'm like, Butters isn't who he used to be. Butters used to be so just
nice.
Innocent and naive. Do you remember the episode where his mom tried to kill him?
Yes. I guess that's kind of my thing, though. Butters has been through some shit.
He's sainted.
He's sainted.
So what do you think about the whole Bill Clinton, Bill Cosby Gentlemen's Club?
That I feel like...
Bill.
And I'm Bill. I feel like that would have been much funnier if he actually was the first gentleman.
Well,
they had to change just like one line. I was almost the first gentleman.
I was trying to figure out where they're going with the Bill Cosby angle. I mean, I understand they both have the same name, Bill.
Yeah.
And that Bill Cosby is currently under investigation for drugging and raping people.
Yeah.
But Bill Clinton has never been... I mean, he's been accused of raping people
a lot.
in sexual assault, but he was never convicted.
No, he was never convicted.
And he did serve 8 years as our president. So I'm trying to figure out where like that goes through. But, Bill goes and talks to Butters, who's just like sticking his dick out the window. And
he's pressing the pickle.
Like, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
And my wife is a crazy bitch.
And he's like, and she is pissed.
And most of it's my fault.
Yeah. So we're gonna see. So how many more episodes do we have in this season? Like probably like
one or two.
Yeah,
it
did so short.
And it would have said if next week's was the finale, or if next week was even like within 2 of the finale, because usually they will say, finale. Yeah, usually they say just 3 more episodes or just 2 more episodes left.
But they didn't.
They did not. So we probably got at least 3 more.
Yeah. Well, hopefully. Hopefully it'll be good. Anything else that we didn't touch on in this episode of South Park?
Let's see. We pressed the pickle. We talked about Bill Clinton's Gentlemen's Club.
Yeah, the Troll Trace.
The Rick Rolls. The Rick Trolls.
And Giant Douche winning.
And Member Berries being...
That's pretty
projectile vomited into people's
Cartman
faces.
and Heidi,
they went to SpaceX.
Go to SpaceX.
Yeah, they're going to find Elon Musk so that he can send them to Mars.
Yeah, and he's trying to go to Mars like now. So
yeah, like now.
And really, if you're a guy like Cartman, why wouldn't you do everything you could to keep... You're the only girlfriend you've ever had.
Because he's done horrible shit in person. I can only imagine what kind of horrible shit he's done online.
Yeah. Time will tell, and we'll check it out next week. Hopefully, we don't have another hiatus on South Park, do we?
I actually don't know.
We've had 2 already this season.
Yeah.
So
they wanted this one to coincide with the election, so that they'd have enough time to wrap up the overall story arc for the next couple episodes, I guess.
All right. Well, we'll find out, I guess.
Hopefully next week.
Let's move on. Okay, America, what the fuck? The unthinkable has happened, and Donald Trump
is now president-elect.
Won the fucking election. What the fuck? We were trolled. Go back and listen to our 2 Trump segments that we have on YouTube.
Yep.
We were fucking trolled.
We
failed you. The DNC failed you. The RNC failed you. White men and white women failed you. Black men and black women failed you. Asian men and Asian women failed you. Everybody failed. Everybody failed in this. Even Trump supporters, they even failed you, the listener, by voting for Donald Trump. I don't know how to express in words how I felt when they announced that Donald Trump was going to be our president.
So I went out to drink because I knew that it was going to be a rough night.
Yeah.
Like, so I went out early to start drinking. As soon as I got off work, I went to the bar and started drinking and hung out with some people and watched returns as they started to come in. And I was like, well, he's still up. He's still up.
When they called it for Florida and Ohio, I was like, fuck!
2 or 3 hours go by, I'm more drunk, and he's still up. California comes in, he's still up, and they're still trying to decide Florida.
Yeah.
Ohio still hasn't been, called for the final.
But it's looking bad.
And the bar closes. And so I go home, and by the time I get home, it's called. Yep. I walk in as they call it. I sink down into my armchair, like, I knew it, like, I've been watching it all night. I knew it was going to happen, but it's only just now hitting me.
Yeah, and reality is a bitch. And when that, like, reality, like, sinks in, then you're like, oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
I think Donald Trump's going to be our fucking president.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck, America? What have you done?
Mm-hmm.
What have you done? You were the chosen one. Yeah, that's what was going through my mind.
Well, apparently Donald Trump was the chosen one.
Yeah, well, it's
46.9% did not vote. Of eligible voters, 46.9% did not vote at all.
Probably those people who are just like, you know what? I can't stand Hillary and I can't stand Donald Trump, so I'm fucking out of it.
Yeah.
And they weren't dumb enough to vote for Gary Johnson or Jill Stein.
Right.
Because they're both retarded idiots.
Yeah.
And oh my God. So, like, I have a friend on Facebook who, the weeks leading up to the election, she's all like, vote for a third party candidate, your vote counts. And, even on election day, she's like, I'm proud to vote for Gary Johnson. And then the next day, she's like, what the fuck, America? And I'm like, bitch, you did this. Third party voters failed you. Okay? I mean, we all failed in this. And
well, no, and see, the weird thing is, at the same time as we say that we all failed each other, at the same time, we didn't really all fail each other, because as of this morning, the growing lead that Hillary Clinton had in the popular vote is almost to 2 million votes.
Well, and I want to say
and we looked it up earlier.
Right, and I want to save that conversation for after.
Yeah, that'll
after
be in our
this.
next segment. But
so here's what's crazy, and here's what we've been seeing in the days after the election. Protests, a lot of protests, and a lot of, like, conservatives being, like, real dicks about it and real smug about it, which there were videos of Trump supporters basically saying that they were going to have an armed revolution and assassinate
violently
Hillary Clinton if
overthrow
she
the
won.
Government if Donald Trump didn't win. They were threatening to violently overthrow the government if Donald Trump did not win.
And all the Trump supporters seem to have conveniently forgotten that they said that, because now they're like, hey, we should all, it was fair and square. Mm-hmm. He won fair and square. And we need to unite as a country. But yet they were the ones threatening a violent revolution and overthrowing the government just mere weeks before the election.
Yes.
So fuck you for that, Trump supporters. It's just crazy, because now you see Donald Trump basically going back on a lot of his campaign promises.
Of course.
But I don't see any of the Trump supporters that I'm friends with on Facebook calling him out on it. They're not holding him to task on this.
And I will say that the reason that they're doing that honestly seems to be because their vote for Donald Trump was a vote against the establishment.
Right. But
who Hillary Clinton, you can't lie.
Yeah.
She very much represented the establishment.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Doesn't matter whether it's the Democratic or the Republican establishment, she represented the establishment who, if you are into conspiracy theories, has been keeping everyone down for the last 50 years or whatever.
Right. And here's what's crazy is they vote against the establishment, okay? And then Donald Trump starts announcing his staff picks. Mm-hmm. And you've got people like
lobbyists.
Reince Priebus, the fucking head of the RNC, as his chief of staff. You've got, I guess Rudy Giuliani and
well-established members of the establishment.
And lobbyists. And
a lot of lobbyists.
He's going back against
corporate
the wall.
money.
He's going back against the wall. He's going back against things that he said about Obamacare.
I kept seeing stuff about him pulling back his support for the repeal of Obamacare, and I was like, depending on what he's planning to do to it, it could be made incredibly worse
or better.
Or potentially better. Like, if he were to remove the individual mandate, that would probably make it better somehow.
Yeah. But I think, a lot of the Affordable Care Act was authored by
Republicans
insurance companies. The original Affordable Care Act was just gutted by Congress. And
they removed the public option, which would have made the individual mandate something that was actually good.
Right. And the insurance and healthcare industry and these big corporations have so much power in our government that there would be no way that they would have let that pass. There would be no way they would have said, sure, it's okay to take away the whole pre-existing condition thing, but you have to make it to where everybody has to buy insurance now. And, just open up your eyes and fucking look at it, people.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. Now, Barack Obama, he gave it a fair shot. He tried. He at least tried to fix the healthcare system, because nobody should fucking go broke. Nobody should have their whole livelihood ruined because they get sick. Mm-hmm. And we are supposed to be one of the most powerful countries in the world, and we can't even take care of our own fucking people.
Yep.
And it's barbaric, honestly. So speaking of other things about the election, doctor-assisted suicide is legal now in Colorado.
Interesting.
Which is good. I think that, hey, if I get to the point where I can't wipe my own ass, fuck yes, take me the fuck out.
Mm.
I want to be done. Marijuana. Legal recreational use in 4 more states now?
Something like that.
And then
medical in a bunch.
Arkansas
Yeah.
went medicinal. I used to live in Arkansas. Who would have fucking thought? I just moved away from Arkansas less than a year ago, and then it goes medicinal. I have the worst luck. And I'm still in a goddamn red state.
Yeah.
So, these things are just so, bizarre to me when I see these happen. So, at least more people get to smoke pot now.
I guess.
Without fear of
maybe people chill the fuck out a little bit now.
Right? That was surprising to me. But just, the overwhelming just shock, I think, from half the country that Donald Trump actually won was just really eye-opening. A lot of people... I think people that even voted for Trump didn't really expect him to win.
Yeah. And that is an interesting thing. Because, I mentioned that I had gone out to the bar. And a lot of my Trump supporter friends were there. And, they would say, well, how you feeling about tonight? I'm like, how about you? And he's like, neither one of us felt great about our candidates' chances.
I'll tell you, one good thing so far to come out of this election, Joe Biden memes.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
It is the month of Joe Biden memes.
Oh my God, those are fucking hilarious.
They're great.
And if you go to me IRL, the subreddit in Reddit, and it's just like every other one is a Joe Biden meme. And hey, shout out to me IRL in on Reddit, because they have some of the dankest memes.
Do they?
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Dank memes. And it's just Joe Biden memes all over the place, and I fucking love it. That's funny. But here's the thing.
The real winner of this political season, Joe Biden memes.
Right. And we all win because of Joe Biden memes, by the way.
Yeah.
Every time you see a Joe Biden meme, you've just won.
Yeah.
So, predictions for the future. Okay, Michael Moore predicted a Trump win. He also predicted that he's not even going to make it through his first term.
I can see that.
Either he's going to resign or be impeached. That he's going to break the law, even unintentionally, because he just doesn't understand the law.
Yeah.
And I could see that happening. If that happens, that a Pence presidency could be far worse.
Yeah. No, it will definitely be worse. Because, again, Mike Pence is the establishment.
Right.
And he believes in gay conversion therapy. He's a terrible human being.
Yeah, he's just terrible.
He's terrible.
He's damn terrible. So, we'll see if that happens. I read an article that Donald Trump wants to divide his time between the White House and the Trump Tower. And it's like, I don't know if Donald Trump really realizes that being president is more than just an 8 to 5 Monday through Friday job. Right?
Wait, are you telling me that the president does stuff?
Oh, yeah. The president does shit. And the president has responsibilities.
What are you saying?
Here's the thing. After every national tragedy that we have over the next 4 years, he's the one who's going to be having to come out and, like, console us. It's like your drunk uncle. I mean, have you thought about that? Have you thought about that yet, Chris?
The next major hurricane.
Right.
We've been having a lot of earthquakes around here lately.
Yeah, I know,
When we finally split down the middle of the country, the Yellowstone supervolcano goes off.
Right.
Donald Trump is going to be the first voice that we have to hear talk about it.
So I have a theory, and this is going to be like some tinfoil hat conspiracy theory.
Okay.
And I don't normally get into this kind of stuff. But if you've seen like the picture of how somber Donald Trump looked whenever he met with Barack Obama at the White House on Thursday, and now all of a sudden he's going back on his word against Obamacare, going back on his word against the wall, going back on his word against a lot of things. It kind of to me, I'm wondering if maybe they were like, they pulled back the curtain and been like, all right, Trump, here's the deal. You were elected president fair and square, and if you're a good boy, we'll let you be president for the whole 4 years. If you're really good, we might let you be president for 8 years, but if you don't play ball with us, the people who really run the country, you might end up getting a trip to Dallas in a convertible.
That is tinfoil. That is hardcore tinfoil.
I mean, think about it, though. You never know, man. I mean, we don't know what's going on. And that's the thing. All these conspiracy theorists and all these, everybody that shares all the Facebook stuff and Reddit and all that, we have no idea what's really going on.
Of course.
We have speculation, and we can say that Hillary Clinton's a criminal and all this kind of stuff, but we don't have the whole story. Yeah, we have some emails, but that's it. And nobody that's making these wild accusations and saying she's a criminal and everything, none of them are like part of the investigation.
Of course not.
So we really don't know what's going on behind the scenes and behind the curtain, and who's really pulling the strings. Because I've always had a healthy distrust of our government.
Yeah.
And I am not going to turn into some kind of conspiracy theorist, but it really seems to me he's really changed his tune overnight.
Yeah.
Practically overnight, he's changed his tune.
I will posit. Perhaps he realized, I have to be the leader of the entire country.
You mean I actually have to be president now?
I have to be a president to not just the people that voted for me,
but everybody
but
that didn't.
Also the people that did not. And all of those people have a lot of problems with all of the shit that I've been spewing for the last year. Maybe I should pull it back. Tone it down a little bit. I'm still gonna be fucking crazy.
I mean,
but
you also got to remember, he was a lifelong Democrat.
Yeah.
And maybe he was just saying what he needed to say to get elected. And maybe he's not going to be as conservative as he wants people to think.
I mean, that is kind of the weird thing, though.
But that's the thing, is if he was really going to be like an undercover Democrat or whatever, he wouldn't have picked the cabinet that he did.
Yeah. And he certainly wouldn't have gone with fucking the gay conversion,
right? So
anti-woman Pence.
Well, you know what? We're just going to have to wait and see. I ain't fucking moving to Canada.
Yeah,
I'm not moving to Mexico. I'm staying right here. I do kind of want to move to a blue state, though.
Yeah.
Even though that's not going to help anything.
No, it's really not.
But we made our bed, man. We got to sleep in it. I mean, we're all Americans.
Yep.
Even though we didn't vote for him, he is going to be our president now, and we're just going to have to fucking deal.
I mean, we've talked about this before. We are both straight white males.
Right. It's not going to be that bad.
We're going to be fine. We're going to be fine.
And honestly, I do kind of look forward to the next 4 years of being able to, and of course, I'm not a misogynist, but I do like to joke around, and be like, well, Donald Trump's president, I can say that now. You
have made a lot of those jokes in the last couple of days.
Right. So that's the silver lining.
At least you are not that small group of people that is talking about literally going out and grabbing women by the pussy,
right?
Or doing like actually sexually assaulting women now, because it's fine now.
Right? And the reports that I've seen come out that like kids getting harassed in schools and Muslims and
a lot of
other
white power stuff. going on
that is indefensible.
Yeah,
that behavior is indefensible. It's completely un-American.
Yeah.
And if you do that, shame on you.
Yeah.
Right. But let's move on. We're going to talk a little bit about the whole
because we
process.
mentioned popular vote earlier.
Yeah. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. More
by
people
quite a
voted
margin.
for her than voted for Donald Trump, but because of the system that we have in place, she still lost the presidency. Now, this is the second time that that's happened in my lifetime.
Yeah.
First with Gore, and now with
the year 2000.
Yes, and now with Hillary Clinton. So we find ourselves in a situation where more people wanted the person that lost, but because of the system that's in place, we still got the person that got the least amount of, or the less amount of. If we got, I mean, Harambe got the least amount of votes, but
shit, Jill Stein might have gotten the least amount of votes.
But it's
actually no. Vermin Supreme probably got the least amount of votes.
But you see these people posting on Facebook like these petitions to petition the Electoral College to not cast their votes for Donald Trump.
I still think that's a terrible idea.
It's a horrible idea because it shakes the foundation of our democracy.
That, plus it gives Trump supporters the ammunition that they desperately need to actually lead an armed revolution.
And honestly, if you're going to lead a campaign with the rhetoric that elections are rigged, and that
the election is literally stolen from you,
and then it's literally stolen from you, you just can't do that. They're gonna have to play ball, and we don't have a choice. And honestly, as much as I hate the Electoral College right now, I don't think it's a bad system, because if you think about it, you've got what, 55 fucking million people live in California? I mean, California is the largest populated state.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want just people in California to be making the decisions for the entire rest of the country if we're going to go by popular vote? Because then all of a sudden you're not being represented in your vote.
Well, I mean, if they go straight popular vote, that is the entire country.
Right.
So it would no longer be like a state-by-state thing. It would be the straight-up popular vote across the entire country, which the last numbers I saw had Hillary Clinton up like almost 2 million votes.
Right. The last time I looked
Trump.
at it, she was up by 500,000.
Yeah.
Which was 500,000, which in the grand scheme of things isn't a lot when you've got,
but it's still
60
way
million votes
more
per
than
candidate.
It's still way more than
True.
Gore lost by or won by.
Yeah. True. But at the same time, we have that system in place, and we have it in place for a reason, because every state has their fair say in the electoral process. If we didn't have that, only large metropolitan areas would be deciding the future of our country, whether we like it or not. Because you know what? My views fall in line very liberally. And they fall in line with these large metropolitan areas. But I still am against that popular vote system, because now us living in a red state that doesn't have huge metropolitan areas,
it's got a few, but yeah,
I know, but if we're
many.
talking about the most densely populated areas, we don't have one in our state.
Yeah, we do not have a Chicago or a New York City or a Boston.
And I don't want those people. I want to be able to have my voice heard, whether, and I knew when I went and voted that our state was going to be red regardless, but I still went and voted. And it was nice to see that there were some counties in our state that were blue.
Yeah.
But we've done things this way since the beginning, and to just automatically or decide to try and change that because we are unhappy with the results goes against what we stand for as a country, man. Especially if we were, and someone sent me a link to the petition to get the electors to not do it, and I didn't.
Yeah, I haven't signed the petition
wouldn't sign it,
either.
and I won't.
I will say, like, the reason that we do it through the Electoral College is a lot like the reason that we still have voting day on a Tuesday, in that it was initially made that way so that the returns could get done in a reasonable amount of time, that everyone in the state could theoretically vote if they needed to, and have that vote counted. Because the Electoral College is a separate entity from the state itself, they would come out, they would vote on Tuesday because it was the day after the Sabbath so that they could actually make it to their voting place. Those results would get taken to the Electoral College members. Those members would go to the actual convention and vote for the president there.
I wonder how long would it take back in the day before you had national television and radio to even learn the results of an election?
Shit, probably at least a month.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. It's interesting to think about. So what do you think about the Electoral College, listeners? Would you want to abolish it, or would you want to keep it going because that's just the way our country works and that's the way our country elects its presidents?
Yeah.
Leave us a comment. Let us know. That's going to be it for today. Next week, what do we got? Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Do we?
Yes.
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to that. And hang in there, America.
We'll get through this.
We'll survive.
We
will. We always do.
Yeah. If there is anything that Americans are good at, it's putting our best foot forward and finding a way through the muck and the mire.
We can do it. I have hope.
All right. See you folks next week, episode 15 of the Dork Age Podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow us on Twitter. Give us a like on Facebook. Make sure you follow us.
Do it.
See you next week.
Bye.